saw that. Brick killed a guy.
We're now halfway through the first season of She-Hulk, and there's no other way to say it. This show is bad. I haven't watched Ms. Marvel yet, but it's hard to imagine that it's worse than She-Hulk, making the latter the worst Disney Plus Marvel show to date, which in hindsight is as predictable as it is disappointing. This probably should have been one of the best shows, but here we are. She-Hulk stinks and everyone knows it. No Daredevil cameo will save you now. She-Hulk as a character is a good example of why Disney Plus Marvel shows exist. This would probably never be a box office smash, but enough fans will see it and be introduced to a new character that can now play a role in future Marvel content. Jennifer Walters is unlike a lot of other superhero origin stories we've seen. Instead of focusing on being a superhero, she's a superpowered lawyer who will represent superpowered individuals when they get in run-ins with the law. It's a fairly unique take on the superhero genre. This phase of the MCU has already brought a handful of new characters to the universe, but all of them are heroes in one way or another. Jennifer Walters looks to be a lawyer first. She'll probably be a part of a team at some point, but she's the first person who gets to live a version of their normal life despite having superpowers. In practice, She-Hulk has been a lazy, circle-jerk effort to farm Yas Queens without any regard for its characters or the overall story of the show. I'm not someone who over-criticizes Marvel for highlighting women. Female Loki and female Thor were pretty good ideas, and I don't care that Hawkeye was the Kate Bishop show. She-Hulk isn't bad because it's woke. It's bad because it uses values as a crutch. Jennifer can already control her Hulk abilities because she's a woman. She already has to deal with horrible sexist men all day, so she's learned to control her temper. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is that the writers wanted to skip that part of her development, so they wrote it off under the guise of progressive values. Bruce did all of his soul-searching required to take control of the Hulk off-screen. We didn't get to see any of it. She-Hulk would have been the perfect time to explore what Bruce went through during his transformation, as he taught someone else how to tame the beast within them. But why spend time dealing with internal struggle when you can skip all that work and explain it away in a short monologue on being a woman?
You know in the back of your head, you're like, if I phone this scene in, she's just gonna elevate it, you know? Of course, I never would phone in a scene, but, you know, if I did.
The laziness of the show isn't just expressed in its commitment to its political ideology. Examples of lazy writing are littered throughout She-Hulk. It's a masterclass in bad exposition. Show don't tell is one of the hallmarks of good storytelling. She-Hulk tells us everything and shows us nothing, which gives the feeling that the writers don't trust the audience. Even the aforementioned monologue is entirely unearned. We don't see Jennifer control her anger once before gaining her Hulk abilities. We just need to take her word for it. The Deadpool-esque asides don't add anything other than exposition dumps. In one of these, Jennifer literally tells the audience that the writers are connecting the A and B stories. Is that something we're supposed to give the show credit for? Standard boilerplate story structure? There are countless examples of exposition sinkholes throughout She-Hulk. The Asgard is not a place, it's a people reference. Why not just let that hang? It's fair to assume the vast majority of people watching She-Hulk have seen Thor Ragnarok. When Pug is being impersonated, he says,
I love harassing women in the workplace. It's my kick, baby.
Why not just harass the women? You don't have to get too dark with it. He could just say something inappropriate rather than telling the coworkers he's being inappropriate. This is She-Hulk infantilizing its audience, which it might do more than any show I've ever seen. Nothing says good writing like,
all you're doing is repeating everything that I've already told you.
There's almost no character development possible with She-Hulk because we have a protagonist with near zero flaws. Society has the flaws in this show, not Jennifer Walters. With a near perfect main character, how is the audience meant to sympathize with her at all? Jennifer is the mouthpiece for the writers of She-Hulk, which is why she doesn't have any major flaws. She has the moral high ground in every engagement. She's never wrong. A good character has flaws, and when they don't, they're just not likable. Almost every man Jennifer encounters is cartoonishly sexist. The only one who isn't, Pug, will surely be her primary love interest. You could tell that as soon as he walked in with the welcome basket. He's the only man who isn't an existing Marvel character and hasn't done anything wildly sexist yet. Instead of dealing with the elements of sexism and discrimination that still exist, the show blasts us in the face with surface-level criticisms that hold no weight in the modern world. Nobody's walking away from She-Hulk with any sort of self-reflection because the sexism displayed in She-Hulk is so wildly unrealistic. It's quite literally taking our society backwards. The social commentary of She-Hulk is 20 years too late at a minimum. It operates in a world that's largely been left behind. And that's a good thing, right? Isn't that progress?
We're gonna be okay.
At almost every turn, She-Hulk is going for cheap applause over substance. Mildly pushy guys prompting Jennifer's first Hulk out moment, fending off male attackers with their new powers, a montage of dates with sexist pigs only to find one that seems good and then disappoints. All of this has been done over and over again. There's nothing new happening here. Also, this guy is dead.
Brick, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You should find yourself a safe house.
I'll briefly talk about the CGI of She-Hulk because it's worth mentioning. It's really bad. She-Hulk is the worst CGI character in the MCU, full stop. But it's a pretty small criticism when you consider the sea of other issues the show has. I could deal with some wonky facial animations if they got the humor, plot, character development, anything else right. But they didn't, so the CGI is just another area of failure.
And we would take handbrakes every single day in the afternoon. And that's really what kept us going. We went through 3 entire legs of Hamon Serrano.
She-Hulk is where Marvel's really starting to wear thin for me. The feminist critiques aside, there's only so many of these formulaic, bland superhero shows that I can take before I give up on all of it. Since Infinity War and excluding the Spider-Man movies, I've been nothing but disappointed in what Marvel has to offer. About a month ago, I made a video about how the MCU has a homework problem, that they're releasing too much mediocre content to expect fans to be caught up when a new movie comes out. It's reaching that point for me. I'm about ready to call it quits on at least the Disney Plus extensions of the MCU. I haven't watched Ms. Marvel yet, but I'm not sure I want to after watching the first half of She-Hulk. We've seen all the issues that She-Hulk has in other Marvel content, but never this much all at once. I feel confident in saying that this will be the first Marvel show that gets cancelled, the first of many if they continue down this path. Of course, that's just my take. If you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments. If you made it this far, do me a favor and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.